In those days, the people of Israel turned away from the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines. For 40 years, they were been oppressed by the Philistines.
Quickly now, 100 measures of grain. See that the rest is ready by sundown.
And the people cried out under the weight of their enemies. But the mercy of God does not grow weary. From a barren woman, he would raise a deliverer, a man of impossible strength. In a small town called Zorah lived a man named Manoah and his wife. They were faithful, yet their hearts were heavy, for they had no child. One day, as Manoah's wife was alone in the field, the air grew still, and the angel of the Lord appeared before her. She trembled, knowing this was no ordinary messenger. The angel of the Lord said unto her, "You will bear a son. Drink no wine or strong drink. Eat nothing unclean. No razor shall touch his head. For the boy will be set apart to God from birth, and he will begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines." And in a moment, the angel was gone. The woman ran home to tell her husband, and said unto him, "A messenger of God came to me. He said, I will have a son, and that he must belong to the Lord all his life." Manoah lifted his eyes and prayed, "Lord, let your messenger come again, and teach us what we are to do for the child." And the Lord heard. Days later, the angel appeared again. Manoah hurried to meet him and asked, "What must the boy's life be, and what is his work?" "Let your wife do all that I have commanded," the angel replied. "The child shall be holy to the Lord." Manoah built an altar there and offered a sacrifice to God. As the flame rose toward heaven, the angel of the Lord stepped into the fire and ascended in its light. Manoah and his wife fell face down on the ground, trembling. They knew they had seen the messenger of God. In time, the promise came true. A son was born. They named him Samson. As Samson grew, the Spirit of the Lord began to stir within him. His strength was unlike any other, a power not of his body alone, but of God's Spirit resting on him. One day, Samson saw a young woman from Timnah, a daughter of the Philistines. Though his parents feared the idea, Samson's heart was set. He said to them, "She is the one I want. Get her for me." What they did not know was that the Lord was working through this. For God would use even Samson's desires to begin his plan against the Philistines. So Samson set out for Timnah with his parents. As they walked through the vineyards, a young lion came roaring toward him. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson mightily. With his bare hands, he tore the lion apart, as one tears a young goat. Samson told no one what had happened. Later, when he returned to take the woman as his wife, he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. Inside it was a swarm of bees and honey. He took some in his hands and ate as he walked, then gave some to his parents, though he did not tell them where it came from. Soon after, Samson held a wedding feast in Timnah, as was the custom of the young men. 30 Philistine guests came to join him. In the midst of the laughter and wine, Samson's eyes gleamed with mischief. He said to them, "Let me tell you a riddle. If you can solve it during the feast, I'll give you 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothes. But if you cannot, you must give the same to me." They agreed, and Samson said, "Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet." For 3 days they tried, but could not solve it. On the 4th day, they went to Samson's bride and threatened her. "Make your husband tell you the answer, or we will burn down your father's house." She wept before Samson day after day, until his heart grew weary, and he told her the secret. Before the feast ended, she revealed it to her people. And when they came to Samson with the answer, saying, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson's face hardened, and he said unto them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." In anger, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him once more, and he struck down 30 men of Ashkelon to pay the wager. Then he left the feast, burning with fury, and the woman he loved was given to another man. When Samson returned, he found that his wife had been given to another man. His rage was fierce. He caught 300 foxes, tied torches between their tails, and set them loose through the Philistine fields. The flames devoured their grain, their vineyards, their olive trees, everything they had. Then the Philistines asked who did this, and they answered, Samson the son-in-law of the Timonite, because they had taken his wife and given her to his companion. The Philistines killed the woman and her father. Samson's fury deepened like a storm. He struck them down with great slaughter and went to hide in the rock of Etam. And so the Philistines came to capture Samson, their army spreading across Judah. 3,000 men of Judah came to Samson where he was to bind him and deliver him to the Philistines, for they were afraid of their oppressors. When the men got to where Samson was, Samson said to them, "Swear to me that you will not kill me yourselves." "We will not," they answered him. Then they bound him with 2 new ropes and delivered him to the Philistines. But when his enemies shouted against him, the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. The ropes melted from his arms like threads touched by fire. He looked down and saw the jawbone of a donkey. He took it in his hand and struck down 1,000 Philistine soldiers. When the battle ended, he stood alone, breathing hard, dust in his hair and blood on the ground. "With the jawbone of a donkey, I have slain 1,000 men," Samson said. And when he finished speaking, he threw the jawbone and called that place Ramath Lehi. He was exhausted and cried out to the Lord, "You have given me victory, but must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised?" And God split open the hollow place, and water flowed. Samson drank, and his strength returned. Therefore he called its name En-Hakkore. And so for 20 years, Samson judged Israel in the days of the Philistines. In time, Samson went down to Gaza, one of the great cities of the Philistines. There he entered the house of a harlot. When the people of Gaza heard that Samson had come, they surrounded the place and lay in wait all night at the city gate. They whispered among themselves, "When morning comes, we will kill him." But at midnight, Samson awoke. He rose quietly, walked to the gates of the city, great doors of bronze with their bars and posts. And with the strength of God still upon him, he tore them from the walls, lifted them upon his shoulders, and carried them to the top of a hill facing Hebron. Some time later, in the valley of Sorek, he met a woman named Delilah. Samson loved her deeply. When the Philistine rulers saw this, they came to her and said, "Find out where his great strength lies, and how we may overpower him. Each of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." And so began the slow betrayal. Day after day, Delilah pressed him, her voice gentle, her eyes kind, but her words filled with deceit. 3 times Samson misled her, and 3 times she tested him, calling out, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." Each time, he broke free, laughing, while his enemies fled in fear. But she did not stop. She spoke softly again and again, until his soul grew weary to death. And finally, he told her all his heart. Samson said to her softly, "No razor has ever touched my head, for I have been a Nazirite to God from birth. If my hair is shaved, my strength will leave me, and I shall become weak like any other man." That night, as he slept upon her knees, Delilah called for a man to shave away the 7 locks of his hair. And when it was done, she cried out, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson." He awoke and said, "I will go out as before and shake myself free." But he did not know that the Spirit of the Lord had left him. The Philistines seized him. They gouged out his eyes, bound him in bronze chains, and took him to Gaza, the very city whose gates he had once carried away. There he was made to grind grain in the prison, and in the darkness, blind and broken, his heart began to remember the God who had called him. But as he labored, his hair began to grow again. The Philistine lords gathered in the temple of their god, Dagon, to celebrate. They said, "Our God has delivered Samson into our hands." They brought him out to make them laugh, blind, broken, and mocked by those he once defeated. A young lad led him by the hand. Samson whispered to the young lad who led him, "Let me rest against the pillars that support the temple." He stood there, between them, one hand on each pillar. And in that moment, Samson prayed to the Lord. He cried unto God, saying, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please strengthen me just once more, that I may bring down this house upon my enemies." The crowd roared in laughter, but Samson's face lifted to heaven. He pushed the pillars with all his might. The pillars cracked, the walls groaned, the roof began to fall, and the temple of Dagon collapsed, crushing the rulers and all the people inside. Samson died with them. In his death, he destroyed more enemies than he had in his life. His family came and took his body and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the tomb of Manoah his father. The dust settled. The laughter of the Philistines was gone, and the land grew quiet once more. Samson died that day, but through his death, God showed his people something greater than strength. He showed them his power. The Spirit of the Lord can take an ordinary man, and through him, shake nations. For when the Spirit of God moves in a life, the weak become mighty. And even in failure, his purpose still stands.